Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Thursday, February 6th. This is episode 169. I'm not going to laugh at that. I'm older and wiser, and I don't have to laugh at the word number 69 anymore. Don Harris, Matt Roy, as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, News 4 and Fox SA. If you're so inclined, download, rate, review the podcast version. Don, how are you? Trade deadline week.
Dude, today's the Super Bowl of caring.
SOAOU.
So I was here at 5:30 in the morning.
So you're doing well.
And I'm going to be here till 10:30 tonight.
So you're doing well. You're awake.
What are we raising money for?
The food bank.
Food bank. That's
San Antonio
Food
Food
cause.
Bank. Yeah, it's a Super Bowl, SOUP Bowl of Caring. We're trying to raise $59,000 in honor of Super Bowl 59 to help feed San Antonio's hungry. So if you're so inclined, call the number on your screen, 210-366.
It's not on the screen.
1434.
We could put it on the screen. I totally forgot to do that.
366-1434.
366-1434. I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah,
there you go.
366-1434.
All right. Well, so
I'm tired, man, because my alarm was set for 4:30.
Your boy David Chancellor gets up at 2. So
yeah, but he doesn't go to bed at midnight or after midnight. I worked last night.
Well,
I got 4 hours.
Yeah, but you went home and took a nap.
No, I didn't.
You didn't nap today?
I have not.
Oh, he's gonna be cranky.
I know.
All right. Well, let's do something that cheers us all up, and let's talk about the Spurs. Ron Fox made his Spurs debut last night in Atlanta. San Antonio got the win, 1-1. And he looked good doing it, man. I swear, he is bouncy, he is smooth, just like you were telling me before. I mean, he's everything that they would have wanted and more.
What he looks like is he doesn't look like he has any effort at all. It's just he just glides. And he's so quick, and the left hand is cool and smooth, and he can knock down the jumper. I love the way he penetrated into the paint, broke down people, and passed out to like Harrison Barnes and Steph Castle. They ran a fast break for the first time in 4 years, the way you're supposed to run it. When they pushed it ahead to Vassell, he got it ahead to him, and he went back to Vassell for the dunk. It was like, that's what we've been trying to tell y'all to do.
Spurs weren't done at the deadline either. Made another move today, less consequential, obviously, than De'Aaron Fox. We'll get into that as well. A lot of other moves going on, a flurry of moves. One of the most active trade deadlines in NBA history going down in the last week or so. Yusuf Nurkic, Brandon Ingram, Jimmy Butler, all traded. Reggie Jackson, the player. If you name a player, he probably got traded. Dennis Schroeder got traded 4 times. He's now, I think he ended up on the Pistons, but he was on 4 different teams within the span of 24 hours.
CD Sissoko, same way, kind of.
Yeah, CD Sissoko now in Washington after he was traded to Sacramento.
He got cut by Washington.
So he's now looking. Maybe he'll be back. You never know. Sign with the G League. Anyway, so we'll talk about that. What the balance of power in the NBA, especially in the Western Conference, is now. The Lakers made another huge move, trading for Mark Williams, the center from Charlotte. So talk about all that. Leave comments and questions in the chat. We will read them as we go. Do you want to start with De'Aaron Fox in the Spurs though? So they won 126-125. De'Aaron Fox scored 14 points in his debut, 13 assists, 5 boards. 24 points in his debut, 13 assists. 18 of them came in the first half. The first half, they scored 72 points, which was a season high for the Spurs. And it was really impressive because even when he was in a bad situation, you feel like his shot's going in, and you always feel like De'Aaron Fox is in control. Like sometimes you see Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle, and they get sped up, and then they can't really get their control back on the offensive side. De'Aaron Fox, it doesn't seem like he was ever out of control on offense.
Yeah, always in control. He commands the defense. That's the thing. That's the biggest thing, is that no one ever goes to help off of him. So there's somebody's going to be open at all times because they're either going to double him or they're going to stay on him. They're never going to leave him to go double somebody else. So he commands the defense's attention at all times. And he's so quick, and he's bouncy, and he's smart.
He's decisive too. He's just decisive. On offense.
And I found it very encouraging that with the game on the line in the tie game, that Mitch would draw the play up for him on a pick and roll with Wemby. Like, your first day, who cares? You're the best guy we got. Run it. And he ran it to perfection.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second. Let's hear from Wemby first on his initial thoughts of playing with De'Aaron Fox.
Vic, was he all that you thought he'd be?
I mean, of course. I mean, it's a surprise for nobody, but we all for it. We all enjoy it. I mean, yeah, Brain just brings a lot on the table for us.
What did he call him?
Huh?
What did he call him?
I don't know. Let's listen to it again.
He said, blank just does a lot for us or whatever it was. But he called him a name. Go ahead. It sounded like Branch or something.
Vic, was he all that you thought he'd be?
I mean, of course. I mean, it's a surprise for nobody, but we all for it. We all enjoy it. I mean, yeah, Brain just brings a lot on the table for us.
He just brings a lot to the table for us.
He
Brink?
does.
Yeah, Brink is what it sounded like he said.
Brink or Branch or something.
Brink is what I heard. But anyway,
Okay.
he's right though.
De'Aaron.
I don't think
Brink.
he's ever played. He's never played with somebody like this. He's never played with somebody who dictates the opposing defense the way that De'Aaron Fox does. And now Wemby can just kind of go out there and be the star that he is.
What I found interesting was in listening to Fox, because although I've been really aware of him for years, I don't cover him. And so I had not heard him give sound bites very often. But yesterday's shoot around, he's very insightful. And he went out of his way to explain to the media the biggest adjustment and how that's going to work, because everybody in the NBA runs similar plays.
Mhm.
Everybody in the NBA runs terminology that's close. And then if you don't, if that's not what you zipper rub right isn't what you call it, then if somebody calls it something else, it's very easy for to pick up on. And because
The concepts are the same.
everybody
it's
runs
just
the
different
same
words.
stuff. in
Yeah,
the
same thing with like trading somebody.
But
in
he
the
went to
NFL.
explain that with a left-handed point guard, you have to flip the court. It's backwards when you run the play at that end. And so if a guy is normally on the right block, he's on the left block. If the wing is normally on the right side, he's on the left side or whatever, with him at the top going to his left. And so he said that may take some time for everybody to learn, oh, yeah, we got to flip this because De'Aaron's on the court. So he said that could take some time to getting used to. But what I thought was fascinating was the way he took the time to explain it to the media, where most players would just think they're too stupid to understand this and you guys wouldn't understand. But he was really engaging with the media.
I really liked the way he presented himself post game and pregame. It was very Spursian, but also very
mature.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Mature. I was going to say veteran, but yeah, he
Yeah,
was very
I was like,
mature
I
with his
forgot
sound
what it
bites and
was
how
like.
he spoke to the media, how he answered questions, how insightful he was with his answers. I thought all of that was very refreshing.
I think for 5 years we've had nothing but kids, right? And so when he talked last night or yesterday, and the way he played too, it was like, oh, this reminds me of the days when we had like Manu and Tony and guys who had a clue on the court and had a clue how to speak to the media off the court, and we're just grown-ups.
It was similar to how I felt when we first heard Harrison Barnes take the mic.
Yeah.
It was just grown up in the room.
And for some reason, I didn't expect that from Fox because he looks so young. But he's 27, so
Been in
he's
the
been
league for
around 8 years. Yeah. So, yeah, so far a joy to watch and a joy to be around so far, it seems.
One thing they do need to get under control is the third quarter. Third quarter was once again a bugaboo last night. It has been seemingly all year. Either they extend their lead by 15 points or they go down by 20 in the third quarter. They were up by 18 at halftime. Last night. One thing I did love though, and we felt was going to be a huge difference maker with the Fox trade, was end of game situations. You referenced it a little earlier. So for people who didn't watch the game, you probably aren't listening to us if you didn't watch the game, but I'll explain it anyway. It was a tie game, just a few seconds left. Fox kicks it to Wemby on a pick and roll, and Wemby's open. He can kick it to somebody else, but he chooses to take the shot himself. He gets fouled, makes one shot, misses the second one on purpose. Atlanta misses the final play because they don't have a timeout, so they miss it on purpose, so they can't get organized.
On the replay.
Huh?
Because they wasted it on the replay.
Yeah.
They did.
On the challenge.
They did waste it on the replay. You're right. But I
that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does, because if you win the challenge, obviously it's your ball. So that's That's the gamble. But if you think for any reason there's a foul, you're losing that timeout.
I loved De'Aaron Fox's explanation of that final sequence, though, after the
Yeah.
game. Let's take a listen to that.
I tell those guys, like, regardless of how well I'm playing in a game, I draw attention. And that's what happened. They put two on me, whether if it's a miscommunication or that's what they wanted to do. And he rolled and tried to finish strong, got fouled. It's funny because I told him in the time I was going to tell you better not kick that ball out. Like, we live or die by what you decide to do, but we definitely live or die by you taking that shot. So you go to the basket strong, you get rewarded. And he would have knocked down 2 free throws if we didn't agree on missing that last one. But I mean, that's a big time free throw, and that won us the game.
2 things that tells me. One, actually 3 things. One, his IQ on the court is just outstanding. 2, he knows that Victor is going to be the Batman and he is going to be the Robin. And 3, he can help unlock Victor and send him to the next level by showing him you have to be this aggressive. You have to take this shot because you're the star.
100%. All great point guards, yours truly included. See and love
Hold on.
the big guys.
Hold on. Don just called himself a great point guard.
It's a great point guard. You want to, I had a guy named John Horrocks, 7-footer.
You're gonna get us off on a weird little tangent here.
No, I'm just saying, if you're a great point guard like Magic,
okay,
you want
better reference.
You want Kareem to succeed and be the guy. If you're John Stockton, you want Karl Malone to get the bucket. You don't want yourself to get the bucket. And so I love the fact that he told Wemby, go strong, go hard. I don't know if Wemby does that, if he doesn't tell him that before that. Wemby may have been looking for the kick. But he said, we're living and dying with you. Basically, go dunk it. And if they foul you, you'll get rewarded. And he did. He just should have gone with 2 hands or his right hand. But anyway.
He almost put him on a poster. It was almost awesome.
That would have been a 3-point play. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, it would have been sick.
But anyway, I love the mentality. And I love on game 1, you got a guy saying to Wemby, I'm your guy, and I believe in you.
They've known each other for 4 days, and already he's instilling that confidence into the player that is going to be the face of the franchise.
He was taking Steph under his wing all night last night.
Yeah, 100%.
He in the trade talks that came out, he said during the trade talks and during all this last weekend, I was texting Steph Castle saying, you're not in this deal. I don't want you in this deal coming here. I don't want to be traded for you. I want to play with you. That's one of the reasons I want to come to San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that he wanted to come to San Antonio for a lot of reasons. One of them is big number 1, and the other one is number 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Area what? 227 or 214? Is that what we're calling him?
541.
541. What are we going with this now? I liked 2 more because it gave us some better combos. But
yeah.
One thing I didn't to critique from last night is you can see that this team still isn't ready when it comes to 3-point shooting. 32%, I think, from 3. They shot it much better in the first half than they did in the second half. If they continued that hot streak in the second half, they probably wouldn't have only won by 1. They probably would have won by more like 15. But you can see that there's space on the floor, and there's open guys when either they get it into Wemby or when it's a pick and roll, Wemby can kick to the other side. You need to hit the shots. Yeah. And they don't have that shooting right now.
Correct.
And that's one thing they didn't get at the deadline.
They didn't get anything at the deadline. I mean, they needed 2 things they didn't get either. But there's no criticizing this team. There's no criticizing Brian Wright because the Spurs are batting 1,000 and are throwing a no-hitter for the last 4 years when it comes to the ridiculousness of Brian Wright. And I made some notes here. Let me see if I can.
Is this about your point guardness?
No. So in June of 22, they trade Murray for 3 picks. Atlanta's first in 25, the pick swap, and the Atlanta's pick in 27. They don't have DeJounte, so they're tanking. That's why they traded DeJounte, to tank, just in case they could get Wemby, which they do. That's luck. Wemby's rookie of the year, but the team's up and down. Atlanta struggles with DeJounte and trade. So in 24, Atlanta trades DeJounte, which remember the Spurs have their pick. The Spurs draft Castle, who's going to be the rookie of the year, and he's the best player in this draft. They trade 8 for number 31 for Minnesota's pick. And that summer, Spurs fans are all saying, okay, trade for Trae Young, trade for Jimmy Butler. Meanwhile, the Spurs stay patient and they wait. Then in 2025, they leverage for an unhappy superstar. They get Fox. They use that same 2031 pick from Minnesota with a few role players. So that pick comes in handy in that trade. Now, today at the deadline, Atlanta's trading Hunter, Bogdanovich, and Zeller to get under the cap. So Atlanta, even though the Spurs own their pick, is going into tank mode. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games. They lose Jalen Johnson, who scored 18 points a game for him. And the Spurs own their pick. Then this summer, it now looks like Trae Young's going to ask out because he's got no team left and they're a dog. He's going to want to play somewhere and win. Imagine if he does that, goes to like Orlando or Miami or Brooklyn. Then you look at their pick next year. The Spurs own the pick swap, and the Spurs are going to be good next year. So the Spurs may have like the 28th pick, and Atlanta might have another top 5, top 10 pick. So you're talking about Wemby with number 1, Castle with number 4. This coming pick might be a lottery pick, top 5 even. And the year after that might be Atlanta's a top 5 or 10 pick. Then they got the 2030 pick swap with the Mavericks, who just traded Luka Doncic, and AD is going to be in 2030, whatever, 37 years old.
Yeah.
And it's
They
like
the Kings pick swap too.
It's like they're clairvoyant or something.
They're playing 3D chess.
It's unbelievable how everything is working in their favor.
What did you think of the? I agree with you completely. I mean, just because they didn't go get a shooter or a center at the deadline, a big guy like a Jonas Valanciunas or a Yusuf Nurkic or whoever, you insert big foreign guy here.
I was hoping they would.
Yeah, and just because they didn't do that this year doesn't mean they're not going to this summer, or they're not going to draft shooting this summer or something like that. Like, they have so much time. They're still 12th in the West right now.
So much
the
time.
likelihood of them winning an NBA championship this year is next to none. However, you use these next 35 games to build up, maybe even get to a 6 seed, maybe get to a 5 seed, maybe get in the play-in, whatever the case may be, and use this 35 games to build some chemistry and see what you do need this coming summer.
What I think is true is that Brian Wright has earned our deference in that I wanted Nurkic, right? I wanted Valanciunas. I think that's the perfect fit next to Wemby, one of those big kind of guys. But Brian Wright is only going to do it, and I think they were poised to do something if the right thing with the right money and the right guy came along. And they were ready, but it didn't. So they're going to play it smart, just like they did last summer with DeJounte.
Let me ask, we're going to get some comments on the YouTube stream. Give me one.
Shout out Tom Guerrero.
I want to ask one question real quick, because I don't know the answer. How involved is RC still? Because RC is obviously the architect and Pop are the architects of the previous generation of Spurs. Now Brian is the GM. How involved is RC still in terms of building this team? Or is it Brian's call no matter what?
The answer is I don't know. The assumption is I texted with RC last week, and when I complimented him on the Aaron Fox trade, his text to me was, Brian and his team have been masterfully strategic. So he's giving the credit to Brian and his team. I would think that Brian uses him as a sounding board, as a advisor. I don't know that to be the truth. That would be what my guess would be. And I think that both of them would finally run it by Pop, who would say, I trust you guys.
Okay.
If that sounds good to you guys, it sounds good to me.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Bob?
We got a question from our old friend Rocky Garza.
Rocky.
He
Hey,
says,
Rocky.
Hey, Rocky. Huh?
What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I said
Shout
hi,
out
Rocky.
Rocky Garza.
With the trade deadline passed, do you imagine the Spurs get active in the buyout market for a backup big, or are you comfortable with them going after former Longhorn Mo Bamba?
I think, 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 I think it depends on how hurt Bassey is. His
He's
knee
2
did not
weeks.
look
He's
good.
2 weeks. He's 2 weeks with an MCL.
So they're going to
but
need
even
somebody.
then, oh yeah, that's who the guy they got today. But I don't think he's going to play for him.
I mean, yeah, Patrick Baldwin, I think his name.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play for him.
I mean, he was on Milwaukee for all of 10 seconds. I would expect them to do something at the center position. Maybe it is a
You would
buyout
think they
market.
have to, right?
They have to. I mean, you can't play small all day. They played a Jeremy at center lineup yesterday.
Yeah,
At some point when Wemby went out, like you can't. You need some size on
but
the
they're
court.
not going to do anything stupid. They're not going to mortgage what their plan is because they traded Zach and because Bassey got hurt. They'll piecemeal it together before they overspend and screw themselves on the cap that they were planning on for future years.
Love you, Rocky.
Hey, and I just had a question, right? So
That's not okay.
You're ineligible.
Please put it in the comments.
Like started practicing Sunday, right?
Say again.
He started practicing like Sunday, right, with the Spurs.
No, Monday, right?
Monday.
He didn't practice. He hasn't practiced.
He hasn't practiced.
He was just at like shoot around.
So he hasn't practiced with the team yet, right?
Correct.
So are they running sets at all?
Yeah, but everybody, like you said, everybody in the NBA knows the sets. So he learned them with the video guys in his hotel room before the games.
I got to imagine that running, getting more familiar with these sets and stuff is.
Sure.
You score 72 points
For sure.
In the first half, yeah.
I mean,
Well, Atlanta was horrible.
yeah.
Had lots of turnovers, missed lots of shots, and there was a lot of transition.
But I was just how much how much better will this?
A lot.
offense get? Yeah. That's what I'm getting at.
They're going to get a lot better, especially the chemistry. I mean, look at it. Took a full year last year with Jeremy and Wemby. Keldon never threw the ball to Wemby. Devin caught on towards the end of last year, and Jeremy, whatever. And then this year, Jeremy and Wemby are fantastic together.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy cuts and Wemby throws him alley-oops, vice versa. Jeremy looks for him. I mean, this chemistry is building. It takes time.
Jeremy might be the most improved Spur on the roster.
He's very improved. But Fox knows how to play.
Right.
So this is going to be a quick learning curve with him and Wemby together.
What did you think of the starting five yesterday? Do you think that's a sustainable starting five with CP3 and Fox?
I don't know. I think they're going to tinker for a while. My starting five would be Fox at the 1, Castle at the 2, Devin at the 3, Harrison or Sohan at 4, and Wemby.
Can you leave Steph on the bench?
They did. But we left Manu on the bench for 20 years.
Yeah, but Steph's not Manu. I'm not saying he's better than Manu. I'm just saying, like, at this point in his development,
I want him on the floor.
Want him on the court.
He's proven that he's better when he's on the court. Like he came in and played 28, 29 minutes and scored a bunch of 20 points. Then Devin came back and they put him back on the rookie bench and was playing in 17 minutes. And he was terrible. He had lots of turnovers and he seemed out of rhythm. Then something happened, another injury, and he gets back in the starting lineup. He's playing 29 minutes a game. He's scored over 20 points in 6 of the last 10 games.
I don't know if you can put CP3 on the bench. Because he mentioned last year in one of his interviews in the last month or two that one, he came to play, but two, that last year was the most miserable year of his basketball life.
But he didn't play.
I mean, he played, but he was on the bench. He was with the second unit.
It was less than minutes. Like if he came off the bench here and still played high minutes, like if he still played 20 minutes,
I guess. One thing that is really interesting about this trade is that he's not going to play a home game for a month.
Yeah.
And he just came off of a 13-game road set with Sacramento. So he literally won't be home. Won't play a home game in whatever uniform he's with for a month and a half. This is the soundbite that he had yesterday about kind of that situation.
I had never heard of that. I never heard of that. Like, I was on the last day of a 13-day road trip. Right. On the last day. Got traded. We look at the schedule, and I'm like, what is going on? And HB texts me. He's like, well, we're going to be on the road for the next month. So, but I think, especially coming to a new team, I actually think that that's a little bit better because all you have is each other. So you're able to go out to dinner, really be together. You see each other pretty much every day on the road. So I think it helps build that chemistry a lot with it.
Tim and Sean,
so it might be
and
a
Tony,
blessing in disguise.
Yeah, Tim, Sean, Tony, all those guys have said it before that the rodeo road trip is a time to build that kind of camaraderie and chemistry between them. So do Do you think that is true, that this can be something that's helpful?
I didn't look at it that way when this trade happened. I was like, okay,
We won't see him for a month.
well, no, I thought they might struggle incorporating him into everything and have a hard time winning, basically, because they're going to be on the road. And that, this is a tough time to join the team because you're on the road. We may not win very many games if you're the Spurs fan. But now he puts it that way. They're hunkering down, getting to know each other. There'll be a lot of time spent in hotel rooms and in restaurants together. And so maybe it's more conducive to imagine if we were at the Spurs were at a long homestand and he comes to San Antonio where his wife is from, whose parents live here, friends and family galore, and they're moving into the new house and there's in-laws and grandkids and everybody around. That might be really distracting. So I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, instead of being pulled in multiple different directions, you get to kind of singularly focus on basketball. So,
In multiple and different directions.
yeah, exactly.
Not only multiple directions in the same direction, but multiple directions in different directions.
Thank you for making that point. It
I
was
like
really,
that.
really helpful.
Because there can be both.
So the Spurs also traded for Patrick Baldwin Jr. today. Any thoughts briefly on the trade?
The biggest part of that trade is and cash.
Yeah.
So
What
Washington,
did they give up? They haven't
is-
announced that yet.
they're paying the Spurs to take this guy off their roster because their roster's full and they need a spot for one of these other trades they've made. And the Spurs have an open roster spot. So if you'll just absorb him, we'll give you money. I expect the Spurs will waive him like immediately.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then that also says that goes to Rocky's point that they need
Still need a
somebody.
big.
They need somebody.
Yeah.
Like they need a warm body that's 7 foot and can
And
sub
maybe they
Wemby
use
in
him for a few games.
Maybe they do. Let's get to the trade deadline real quick before we get out of here. So the trade deadline was insane. Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors. Luka Doncic obviously going to the Lakers. Mark Williams going to the Lakers. Brandon Ingram going to Toronto. Just moves galore.
Lakers are pretty good.
The Lakers are pretty good. When they dealt Dalton Connect today, which is I thought was nuts.
Yeah.
Should have been in the Luka Doncic trade. The only reason that they were able to make this trade is because the Mavericks didn't get all that they could from that trade. But I digress. When you look at all the moves that were made today, what moved the needle for you?
Well,
Not just today, but over the last.
I think Butler to the Warriors bothers me that it could keep the Spurs out of the playoffs / play in. I thought they had a chance to be better than the Warriors. I don't know if that's true anymore with Jimmy Butler there.
Yeah.
And the other thing that my takeaway is the Hawks are in tank mode and the Spurs own their pick. They got rid of their best 2 players other than Trae Young.
I mean, it's good because
It's great for
Where-
the Spurs.
we're capturing the flag now, man. We're on flag hunt. Cooper flag hunt.
At what point do you go into tank mode when you don't have a pick?
So right now for the Spurs, they have
Did
to
they
get,
forget?
they have to get over Golden State is 11th, Phoenix is 10. Phoenix didn't make many moves besides trading away Yusuf Nurkic. They still have Beal. They still
I
have
would have liked to have had him.
me too. They still have Beal. They still have Durant. They still have Booker. I want Booker, but that's besides the point. So maybe it's addition by subtraction getting Nurkic out of there. I don't know how much better they got at the deadline.
Remember, he was crossways with Bud.
Right. And when it comes to the Kings, who are at 9, they still have Sabonis. They didn't end up getting rid of Sabonis. They now have Zach LaVine. So I feel like they're still in a similar situation. Not too much better, not too much worse without De'Aaron Fox there. Dallas obviously is completely different. We don't know what to expect from them. Their first game with AD is tonight against the Celtics.
They're going to be better.
I don't know if they'll be better because Doncic wasn't playing right now anyway.
Right.
So Minnesota didn't make many moves. The Clippers got Bogdan Bogdanovic, not Bojan. And then the Lakers made a bunch of moves, and they're at 5. So when you look at everybody who made moves, do you think that the Spurs are better now than any of those teams that are above them with everybody making the moves that they made?
I don't know. Yeah, I would say yes with the addition of Fox that they're better than some of those teams. They're not better than the Lakers. They're not better than the Clippers. They're not better than the Mavericks.
Minnesota.
They're not better than Minnesota.
So you think that? So I mean, that's 8 teams right there. OKC, Memphis, the Rockets, Denver, Lakers, Clippers, Minnesota, and Dallas. That's 8 teams.
Yeah, they're not better than any of those 8. That doesn't mean they can't catch them.
Right.
If with injury and dissension and things that don't work out.
If I was to say,
that's why I stopped taking gabapentin.
okay, sorry. If I was to say that the Spurs, I gave you 2 options. Which one is more likely? The Spurs get to the 5th seed, or no, sorry, the Spurs get to the 6th seed, or the Spurs miss the play-in. What is more likely?
How far out of the 6th seed are they?
They are 5 games back of the Clippers, and they are 2 games out of Phoenix from the 10.
Okay, I'll say they got a better shot to get to number 6.
I think so too. I think that as the team goes through,
They're going to play
really,
a lot of home games.
It's really going to depend on. Well, their schedule was home loaded to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, in the first half of the season, so they've actually got a lot of road games coming up, especially with the rodeo road trip. If they can win half their games on the rodeo road trip, I think they have a really good shot at getting to the 6th.
Yeah,
that's.
And they've got Charlotte and Orlando and Washington.
I feel bad for Orlando. All their guys are hurt.
They've got a chance there.
It's going to be a really fun back half of the season. That's why I was really happy that they made this trade.
Yeah,
because now it makes covering them was fun already, but it makes covering them that much more fun now when you have this kind of new shiny toy to watch and to learn about and to kind of play with if you're the Spurs.
He's fantastic.
He's great, and it's going to make covering this team and watching this team that much more
Is
fun.
he better than you thought he was?
Huh?
Is he better than you thought he was?
No. I've always loved him. I mean, this guy is the model of consistency. If you look after his rookie year, I think he was 17, and his second year he's 21, and then boom, 23, 25, 25, 25, 25. I mean, he is
we
25
said that this
and
summer.
12.
We talked about him this summer. Like,
Yeah.
if they can get a De'Aaron Fox, this team is going to take the next step. We literally talked about that in June.
I showed you my tweet.
Yeah, I know.
I was telling somebody that was mad about the pick. They're going to trade a bunch of these picks for a guy like Booker or De'Aaron Fox. I said it on June 26th.
You sure did.
They still have 31 picks in the next 7 years.
Yeah.
31. They're not done. They're just done for this season.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, one last question from the chat there. How many wins does this trade push the Spurs to now?
Over
40?
500.
Over 40?
Well, no, because I think they were a little bit behind schedule. What are they now?
they're 20. Stand by. They are 22 and 26 right now.
22 and
Can they
26.
Can they go 18 and 14 for the rest of the year?
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
would push them to 41 and 41, or that would push them to 40 and 42.
Okay, so what do they have to do to go one game over 42 and 40?
They need to go 19 and
or 20.
they need to go 19 and 15 the last
Easy.
34 games of the season.
Easy.
I think so too.
Cool.
I think they can get over 500 now for sure.
Yeah.
If that's enough to get into the play-in, I don't know.
I haven't looked at the
will be.
schedule of the teams they're playing, but I would think yes.
I'll just rattle it off right now. They're going at Hornets, at Magic, at Wizards. Then they have the Celtics. Then they play the Suns in Austin. Then they play the Pistons in Austin. Then Pelicans, Rockets. That closes out February.
So that's,
I think that's 5 wins. So,
yeah.
I mean, play the Pelicans twice, and the Pelicans stink.
Yeah. They
So-
should win these next 3. I mean, not Boston, but
You're playing the Wizards, who are the worst team in basketball. You're playing Charlotte, who is the second worst team in basketball. And you're playing the Magic, who can't get out of their own way when it comes to injuries.
and
So.
never forget getaway day. They're playing the Celtics the night before the All-Star break. And when you're a team loaded with All-Stars like the Celtics are, your mind is already in San Francisco. So you could sneak one there.
I'll take it. That's all we got for you today on the Sneaks Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. De'Aaron Fox is a San Antonio Spur, and they are going to make a run. That's all we got for you today. We'll see you on Monday.